transportation sector has embraced design build in a big way, with the latest market research anticipating continued and impressive growth over the next 5 years. Welcome to the Design Build Delivers podcast. I'm Kim Wright with the Design Build Institute of America. Today we're going to drill down on that a bit and talk specifically about design build in transit and rail from both an owner and practitioner's perspective. We're talking to Tim McKay, who is Executive Vice President at Dallas Area Rapid Transit, and Phil Sheridan, who's the Senior Vice President at Clark Civil. And we offer a special thanks to Georgia Pacific Gypsum for bringing this episode of Design Build Delivers to you. So today we are excited. We're going to get to talk a little bit about rail and a little bit about transit. We've got Tim McKay, who is Executive Vice President at DART in Dallas, and Phil Sheridan, who's a Senior Vice President at Clark Civil. There's so many places we could go with this, but let's just start with DART. DART has been a very aggressive design build user. You guys have been doing some really creative and innovative things out there. Tell me a little bit about your program and what DART has been doing in the last few years.
Well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you're at. We started out our programs 20, 30 years ago with traditional design bid build. And what we were finding that we were in litigation almost after every project. Decided that maybe we needed to update a little bit and try and find a better partner. So we made a migration to design build through CM at Risk. Once we hit design build, it really felt like that was a good spot for us. We're very blessed in the Dallas area to have good constructors, good designers. And so we struck up some partnerships. The first time we tried design build, it was very successful, albeit very different. And the hardest thing from an owner's perspective was to give up a measure of control, but it really came down to allowing whoever was best to control that risk for the project to do that and work in a partnership. And it's really been fantastic. We've had great success doing that.
I think, Tim has hit on so many of our fundamentals that we practice at DBIA and why we believe design build is a great delivery tool. And I think it fits the transit market wonderfully. These are complex jobs. They bring in, often integrating an active network or system that you have to either expand or build a fill-in station where a new population center is in. So they're very complex jobs. And everyone that I've been involved in and, speaking to Clark Civil in the Mid-Atlantic or the bigger Clark throughout the country, we've worked on many systems. Our owners consistently, as they've found the tool, they really drink the Kool-Aid, right? It's because you get that contractor involved early, you get a collaborative team, and it really goes a long way towards what Tim was saying on. And one of the key ones is avoiding litigation. In the 20 plus years I've been doing transit design build, we've never come close. Occasionally we'll have to use a DRB, but that's about as close as we ever get to really having to wrestle with our owners. They're really collaborative teams, and it's a great environment to work in. It's very rewarding.
Well, and transit can be so diverse, too. I would think that the flexibility that you get with design build would be particularly of interest. Because you're talking horizontal, you're talking vertical, but you can be doing a whole variety of things with a transit project, right?
Yeah, I think I think generally it's horizontal. It can have vertical components, but, the rail part, the signaling part, the systems part is really a bit of a challenge, and you have general structural elements, and then you have drainage and grading and those patterns, followed by rail, followed by systems, followed by then integrated testing and all. And it's really an orchestration of several trades to get to the end where you have one product. There's a limited number of resources that can actually do this well in the United States. And, here we like to think we're all about mass transportation and all of that in the United States. But frankly, we're not all that compared to some of the European cities and others. But this, the design build model, I really think it forces collaboration to do it right. And up front, we spend a lot of time. Our solicitation time up front with our partners is anywhere from 8 to 9 months. And during that time period, you can get a lot of things worked out, whether it's general requirements type things or whether it's innovative ideas. The trick is not to take the design too far before we find a partner and start working with that partner, or you're undoing things or you have missed opportunities. So for us, in an owner's perspective, we get a confinement on price, we get a quality contractor, quality designer, we get a confinement on price, and we get people that actually have demonstrated the ability to do the work. All of that comes together, and it really makes our life a lot easier.
Great design builders are all about innovation, integration, and efficiency. That's why we're happy to have Georgia Pacific Gypsum as our Design Build Delivers partner. The DENS element barrier system with AquaCore technology from Georgia Pacific Gypsum creates the water-resistive and air barrier within, eliminating the need for an additional on-site crew to apply a separate WRB-AB. This innovative product provides a high-performance integrated sheathing solution for architects concerned with preserving the integrity of their building designs and offers contractors better control of their project schedules and potential time savings.
The operation of any rail transit system, whether it's heavy rail or the light rail, like much of the DART system, is instrumental, right, for both the overall efficiency of the system, but most importantly, the safety. And, one of the things that transit has to provide to be successful to the user is reliability. They have to know the trains are going to come every day and that they're going to be there. At the same time, there's a balance that, as an operator, I'm sure Tim will speak to, is you need time to do a certain aspect of maintenance. So as an owner, or my owners that I've worked with, right, it's a big part of communicating the goals, and the mission is to have a very maintainable system at the same time. So, those are the things that the dialogues that the design build delivery tool allows those very robust conversations to happen, and ultimately they improve the delivered product, at a good value to the owner. In long term, it's a reliable system for the owners the users of the system to make sure they can get to where they need to be each day. And the other thing we see is in transit more and more, it's being tied to larger growth plans in the communities they're serving, the transit-oriented development. And you see some areas in some cities where they're doing infill stations where there's gentrification or growth or intended redevelopment by the city leaders. And then you have, you're expanding the reach or the tentacles of your service area as you bring people in from a greater area outside the city core. So there's a lot of different ways where transit can take advantage of design build. And I think, that's a lot of the benefit of the tools that DBIA as a leader, thought leader, certainly offers to agencies, whether you're new at it or you're very mature like Tim's organization.
There's two things that I want to emphasize. Part of this collaborative effort really helps us achieve safety, because we have teams that are committed to working together, and our safety programs are really a step above, so that the workforce understands. They really become more of a safety culture. And a lot of that, I think, is because of the collaboration and because we're working together and we're sharing things that work for us all around the table. And the other one is growing capacity. And, we have MWDBE partners. We have small companies that are starting up. And these folks don't have the opportunity but for a collaborative environment like Design Build to really get in there and understand what some of these larger complex projects are about. It gives them an opportunity to come in at, sometimes they're a minor sub, and they can grow their capacity to be a medium size or a large sub. And in even cases, over the last 20 years since we've been doing this, I've seen some grow from a sub now to a joint venture partner. And so the collaboration, a lot of people say, well, Tim, that's mentoring. Yeah, it probably is, but it's not just a tag it's how the design build process works through collaboration that I think is the key to so much of the successes that we see as owners.
It's a true culture shift. And that's
Absolutely.
sometimes where people go wrong. They think they can just, build a project and make it collaborative, but yet it's not really design build.
Yeah, I mean, I'd certainly speak to that. Not every project is suitable for design build. I think we would be fair about that. There's some projects that it's not the right tool. At the same time, when you do have it as the right tool, it's very important to have the right people. Like you said, that mind shift, the cultural shift. Tim spoke earlier, there's certain things where they got to relinquish some certain controls, but in return they get other value. The other thing that remains still very important inside of design build is it's not the panacea, just dump every risk on the contractor. We still have to work collaboratively in maintaining that risk with the party best able. In most instances, the agency owner is going to have much more powerful legislation in their hands to help in the instances where you got to do eminent domain or property taking versus putting that on the contractor. There are some large contractors that are very capable and could take that on. Doesn't mean they should take that on. And I think we can look at every phase or aspect of the job, and the sophisticated owner, the sound owner who's had a lot of experience will know they've tried to push some things maybe a little too far occasionally, and then they pull it back. They'll learn.
It happens.
And I think we use and this is where the conferences come in great. You get all your peers together, whether there's the owners' workshops or the practitioners' workshops. There's so many tools for someone. Even if you feel you're very experienced, like Tim and I, in it, you can always learn something at the conference. So I think there's a lot of benefit there to get people in and meet with your peers in the industry, across the industry, and see what's going on around the country. There's great opportunities out there.
Yeah, Phil, I would echo that. One of the things that I appreciate about transit is that most of the folks that I get to deal with they're willing to share their failures, not just their successes. And so it's a very unique group that way because we learn more from that. And when it works really, really well, I agree with your point on there is no panacea for any project delivery. But when it works really, really well, sometimes it looks so easy, everybody thinks they can do it. And that's the secret sauce behind the scenes, right? It is the people. It is that partnership and that collaboration. I could be a first-time owner and team up with somebody like Phil, and we could be successful only because with a good partner, they can help me help them, and vice versa. And so it's worth your time. You get professional development credits if you need those. But more than that, you get industry contacts. You get people that you can send an email to or pick up the phone and call. They'll actually take time out of your day and say, what can I help you with? How's things going? How's your project, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a great network, and it's a great opportunity to expand your professional network to grow for yourself and your company.
Because as we've seen the rapid growth, and everyone loves rapid growth, I think it benefits the nation overall if we can build more efficiently and effectively and resilient. But on the other hand, rapid growth, like you said, can also say, gee, look, they're doing it. It was a great success. Let's just jump right in. And design build done wrong does more damage than not doing design build at all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I think in one of the keys too is it's all about having the right tools, right? And one of the other areas where DBIA has done a great job is helping owners and legislatures around the country help craft that legislation that gives you the tool to, Tim said his program started very early and he couldn't do design build, right? But through the right advocacy out there, you can get those tools. And, often we use the legislation that's been successful in other jurisdictions through the DBIA legislative efforts to help make sure the right legislation's written so that you have the right tool. And it's in everybody's best interest, again, is to get out there, network, understand the peer support, owner to owner, contractor to owner. And, like Tim said, if someone wanted to give me a call, I'm happy to offer as much advice as I can. in, maybe a market that I don't even work in, right? Or conversely, or to avoid a potential conflict of interest type thing, DBIA can serve as a facilitator to help put you in a peer-to-peer relationship where that conflict won't exist, so you can get open and frank feedback, what works, what doesn't back. And again, it's sharing the failures as well as the successes. The successes are recognized, right? The industry will recognize success, and we all want to see that. But it's really, at the end of the day, it's as simple. It's the right people, and that will get you past nearly any project challenge if you have the right people working together towards a common goal.
There's been a lot of talk about infrastructure investment, and certainly rail is an area that, could certainly benefit from some extra federal infusion, I'm sure, as well as many other sectors. How important do you think how important is the federal role in transit and rail going forward?
Well, it's hugely important. We are a subsidy operation, and so there's not a system in the United States that's not. And if you took away, the federal government participation in airlines, they would be a subsidy operation, just from a standpoint of security, TSA, and all of those things. So, we're a subsidy operation. We count on those things. And, I often use the example, if I have a project, let's say it's $1 billion project, and I get a federal grant for 50% of that. When I build, make that investment in the public side, the private side will fill in around transit through transit-oriented development. And it is often 3.5 to 4 times the investment on the public side. So when you look at it from a standpoint of, if you want to drive the economy and the federal government invests $500 million and can get a $5 billion return on that, now that's a pretty good return.
Good bang for your buck.
And so that's why these things are hugely important. It's, it's clichéic. It's a little corny, but if you build it, people will come, especially in the areas that are just begging for that through, gentrification and revitalization, re-energization. There is not a city in the United States of any size that hasn't gone through that and isn't in need of that type of economic boost. So in design build, one of the important things about design build is in that process, you have a great foundation. We find that we're successful because we can deliver good news. We build on time, we build at or under our budget. And what that does is when you do enough of that, you're a good risk. Right. So as an owner or a transit property, your credit rating goes up in the federal government's eyes. And there's not a politician today that wouldn't appreciate a good news story. Right. And so, it's hugely important to us. And, we work with our delegation hoping that those grants will continue because we've seen phenomenal growth around the investment that we make.
Those are all great points, and I think Tim, from the owner's perspective, certainly has the finer behind the curtain side of that. So, from there, but certainly being the contractor bidding, the strength of programs that are out there today across the country are great, and it's been really rewarding. Where a lot of our work is in that transit sector versus highways or other modes of transportation, to see more and more of those federal dollars earmarked into these market sectors, I think is really helping the overall transit. This is still a discrete set of dollars, but with more of them, it can help more agencies do that compounding of investment and return on investment that's so valuable. The other side that I touched related is freight, right? And especially when you go into some of your heavier commuter, they're often on shared lines, right? So there's a different level of complexity that come into those projects. So I have recently seen the freight railroads also moving more into the collaborative delivery tools, and very successfully in helping to work with their transit partners. So, we don't want to leave freight out of the conversation because they are a part of the transit picture in many areas around the country. And then we, some of the other supplements that we see that design build can also support is, Tim, you'll often see in your light rail interfaces with bus rapid transit. And then, we're seeing more and more where we're seeing these really intense efforts to get the multimodal transit centers where you're really allowing that seamless transition for the user to move. Maybe the heavy rail gets them in from the suburbs and then they get on the light rail system to get to the front door of work. So there's a lot of integration even across the systems that, again, it only creates a need for greater collaboration amongst all involved to make those types of complex projects successful.
So if you were to get out your crystal ball, what do you think it looks like for design build in transit and rail?
Well, from McKay's perspective, I think it's going to continue to get strong as we around the country have more and more good news stories and demonstrate that true partnership and collaboration. Those are all of the things that you get out of that are things that we need in our toolbox to tell a good news story and to give folks a good news story that will provide funding for us. And I agree with Phil, freight railroads are important. We own about 275 miles of rail corridor in North Texas. And so we have a very, very close relationship, and we're working on a grant application literally this week for transit partnered with freight in order to coexist and to deliver. Design build from an owner's perspective gives you certainty. It provides resources. We don't have all of the fields of expertise, and we have very small staff. And so for a $1 billion project or a multi-billion-dollar program, we have to rely on extensions of our staff. Design build is a very, very good tool for us because we get to work with good partners, and then we get to sync up where our strengths and weaknesses are with a good partner just to make the project delivery team even better. So I think it's going to continue to rise. I think it's going to continue to be popular. The biggest thing that folks need to do is come and get educated, ask for help. Because when you do that, you really get to see the benefits of design build instead of going and beating your forehead on the wall. And we've all done that. I'm as stubborn as anybody else, but it's really, really important. It's a good group of folks. That's another thing I really enjoy about it. I've not met anyone that is committed to design build that does it well, that they're just all good people. And sometimes work is work, but it's really nice when you get to work with good people who have common goals. And that's really important to me.
Yeah. I like Tim, I see a really strong future ahead in transit. There's more and more commitment around the country. You look at some of the jurisdictions, you look at Washington State and the commitment the populace made through a dedicated tax thing. You're seeing more and more of that. People want transit. It's a great tool for mobility, and I think, as a whole, design build can and should be a large part of the future success stories in transit. So, I'm looking forward to the conference as I do every year. There's going to be more things. I know I'll learn something new, and just strongly encourage folks to get out there. It's a phenomenal peer network. The people are passionate. The folks that are at this conference are passionate about the tool and about their projects and what they do, whatever role whether they're a vendor, a subcontractor, a designer, a contractor, an owner, they're all there. And, I think one of the most important things at transit, year over year, we're seeing, 15+% of our attendees are those owners across all market sectors. And the owner-to-owner networking is phenomenal at the transit conference.
Well, thank you both for taking the time, and we'll see you in Cincinnati at Design Build for Transportation Aviation.
Thank you.
It's not too late to register to join transportation and aviation design builders from all over the country at the nation's only sector-specific conferences for design build. We'll be in Cincinnati the week of April 8th for a jam-packed program for experienced and novice design builders alike. You can find out more at dbia.org/conferences. Thanks again to our team member, Georgia Pacific Gypsum, for their support of Design Build Delivers.